We all know World War II was fought on battlefields, in the skies, and on the seas. But behind the scenes, a second secret war was being waged. This one wasn't fought with tanks or planes, but with pure intellect, sheer persistence, and incredible worrying machines. Today, we're diving into how the Allies cracked the German Navy's Enigma code, a victory that literally turned the tide in the brutal Battle of the Atlantic. For Britain, survival was hanging by a thread. I mean, think about it. It's an island nation under constant attack. It depends completely on supplies being shipped across the Atlantic. But lurking out in that cold, dark ocean were German U-boat wolf packs. Coordinated by coded Enigma messages, they were sinking Allied ships so effectively that their crews had a nickname for it, the Happy Time. And if you want to know just how dire things were, look at this number. Between March and June of 1941, German U-boats were sinking an average of 282,000 tons of Allied shipping every single month. At that rate, Britain was going to starve. The war effort would collapse. The key to stopping the slaughter was locked away inside those coded messages. So, who do you call for a problem like this? The job fell to the brilliant minds at a place called Bletchley Park. Now, they'd had some success against the German Army and Air Force Enigmas, but the naval Enigma, that was a whole different beast, a far, far harder target. Just look at the leap in complexity here. The Navy used 8 rotors to choose from, not just 5. That single change jumped the number of possible rotor arrangements from 60 all the way up to 336, and that's just one setting. On top of that, their radio operators were incredibly disciplined. All the little human errors the codebreakers at Bletchley had exploited before, they just weren't happening. Most people thought it was a lost cause. But there was one man who disagreed. In a building known as Hut 8, a genius named Alan Turing was absolutely convinced it could be done. Turing was already a legend at Bletchley Park, not just for his unbelievable mind, but also for being, well, a bit eccentric. This is a guy who would cycle to work in a gas mask because of his hay fever and chained his tea mug to a radiator so nobody would spill it.
Turing had a theory. He figured out that the German Navy was using special bigram tables to add yet another layer of security to their messages. This meant that to break the code, the team didn't just need brain power, they needed to get their hands on the enemy's actual physical codebooks.
So how do you do that? Well, 1941 became the year of captures. A series of incredibly daring raids at sea by the Royal Navy led to boarding parties seizing German trawlers, weather ships, and in one amazing instance, the crippled U-boat U-110. They recovered intact Enigma machines and, most importantly, the codebooks that Bletchley Park was so desperate to get. They also got really clever on their own. They started using something called a crib. Now, a crib is basically a piece of text that you can guess is going to be in a message. For example, the Royal Air Force would deliberately go lay sea mines in a specific spot because they knew the Germans would have to send a coded report about it. And that report would almost certainly contain predictable words like mines and the coordinates, giving the codebreakers a known piece of text to attack the cipher with. Brilliant. But here was the next huge hurdle. Even with cribs and captured codebooks, the sheer number of possible Enigma settings was just astronomical. Way too many for any human or even team of humans to check by hand. They quickly realized that to beat a machine, they were going to have to build a machine. And this was it, the Bombe, an electromechanical marvel designed by Alan Turing himself. But, and this is a crucial point that was kept secret for decades, it was inspired by an earlier Polish device called the Bombe. You see, brilliant Polish cryptanalysts had actually broken early versions of Enigma before the war even started. Their foundational work was the launchpad for everything Bletchley Park was able to achieve. So how did this thing actually work? Well, it was genius. First, the operators would program in a crib, that predictable piece of text we were just talking about. Then, its drums would start whirring like crazy, simulating thousands of different Enigma rotor settings at incredible speed. But here's the really clever part. The Bombe wasn't looking for the right answer. Instead, it was looking for logical contradictions to rapidly eliminate all the wrong answers, until it was left with just a handful of possibilities for a human to test. But Turing wasn't the only genius working on this. A huge improvement came from his colleague, Gordon Welchman. He invented something called the diagonal board, which was this ingenious piece of wiring that exploited a key feature of the Enigma's plug board. Basically, if the letter A was wired to S, then S was also wired to A. This upgrade made the Bombe so much faster and more efficient. turning it into a true war-winning weapon. And the scale of this whole operation was just immense. Each Bombe weighed about a ton, was packed with 19 kilometers of wire, and had to be running 24/7 to be effective. This grueling, loud, yet absolutely vital work was performed by the Women's Royal Naval Service, better known as the Wrens. They operated and maintained these complex machines around the clock. By the end of the war, around 200 Bombes were whirring away day and night, cracking German secrets. So with the bombs fully operational, Hut 8 could finally read the German naval Enigma consistently. For the first time, the Allies knew exactly where the U-boat wolf packs were hunting. This intelligence was so secret, so important, it was classified at the highest possible level, ultra. And the results? They were immediate, and they were staggering. Just look at this chart. Remember that terrifying number from before? 282,000 tons of shipping lost per month? By November, after Bletchley Park started cracking the codes, that number plummeted to just 62,000 tons. The data speaks for itself. Ultra was working. What this meant in the real world was that the Allied command could suddenly see the U-boats on their maps. They could steer those precious convoys, carrying food, fuel, weapons, and soldiers, safely around the waiting wolf packs. This intelligence didn't just save ships and supplies. It saved the lives of thousands of sailors and kept Britain's lifeline open. But the story doesn't end there. The impact of ultra-intelligence went far, far beyond just the Battle of the Atlantic. The secrets that were pouring out of Bletchley Park shaped critical decisions and major battles across every single theater of the war. I mean, the impact was felt everywhere. Thanks to Ultra, the Royal Navy was able to ambush and cripple the Italian fleet at Cape Matapan. It's how they found and sank the pride of the German Navy, the battleship Bismarck. The intercepts also gave Churchill irrefutable proof of Nazi atrocities happening on the Eastern Front. They even gave a clear warning to Stalin that Germany was about to invade the Soviet Union, a warning he tragically chose to ignore. When you put it all together, you realize this was so much more than just code breaking. The work done at Bletchley Park is often called the greatest intelligence coup in all of history. The information was so sensitive, so absolutely vital to winning the war, that its very existence was a secret classified higher than anything else. And you know, the legacy of Alan Turing and all the code breakers at Bletchley Park is literally all around us today. The theoretical concepts they developed to build the bomb, well, they laid the groundwork for the modern computer, maybe the very one you're watching this on right now. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? As our technology continues to evolve and data becomes the new battlefield, what monumental secrets are today's codebreakers racing to unlock?